It's your boy Mr. Quarantine Content WorldWideRailfan here. Welcome to episode 3 of Rebuilt, the series where I discuss the history of engines rebuilt by Norfolk Southern and how they came to be. Guess what? I don't have to credit Amtrak Guy 365 for this video because it's not a blatant ripoff of Engines of Amtrak. I mean, he wasn't the first person to come up with narrated YouTube videos, right? Whatever. In this episode, I'm talking about the NS SD70ACU. First, we need to turn back the clock to a time when the SD90 Mac was the future of railroads. In 1995, EMD introduced the SD90 Mac, a replacement for the SD80 Mac, and they were designed to be even more powerful than the SD80 Mac's 5,000 horsepower. They had 6,000 horsepower EMD 16-265H and 16-710 G3B prime movers, Nathan K5LAs and Nathan K3LAs, and EMD steel cast bells. They were originally purchased new by the Union Pacific, Indiana Railroad, Canadian Pacific, and the CIT Locomotive Leasing Group, known to many as CEFX. They were all delivered with EMD 710s, only utilizing 4,300 horsepower. They would have been 6,000 horsepower, but EMD was having issues with the 6,000 horsepower prime movers. Some railroads decided to classify these less powerful locomotives as SD90-43 Max. The 43 was added to represent the 4,300 horsepower. Speaking of locomotive classifications, SD90 Mac can be broken down to SD meaning special duty, 90 being the model series, M standing for the American Modernized Cab seen first on the SD60M, and the AC standing for alternating current traction motors. The SD90-43 Macs were basically just giant SD70 Macs, so the railroads liked them. Once EMD sorted out the issues with the 6,000 horsepower H engine, they released the SD90 Mac-H. These engines were purchased by Union Pacific and Canadian Pacific, and some later models had a Phase 2 SD70A style cab. All SD90 Mac-H's to date have been scrapped due to the failure of the H engine conflicting with the then new Tier 2 diesel emission standards. The SD90 Macs didn't have particularly long or successful careers. Railroads didn't like the 6,000 horsepower variants because their H engines were unreliable. This meant that they could only be used on more average-sized routes even though they were meant for long-haul heavy freight routes. To combat this issue, EMD built the SD89 Mac. It was built with 4,500 horsepower and only one demonstrator unit was ever built. No railroads bought it, and it somehow found a way to fail harder than the SD90 Mac-H. EMD has since used it for strange testing. It had a Tier 4 engine installed because why not, right? On top of all of this, the SD90 Mac met its demise due to unreliability and bad luck. This is where Norfolk Southern comes in. NS saw how other railroads stored and attempted to sell off their SD90 Macs. In 2016, NS purchased 110 SD90 Macs from Union Pacific, the CIT Leasing Group, and the Indiana Railroad. All units were renumbered from their various numbers to 7229 through 7338. All units still had their K5LAs, K3LAs, and EMD steel cast bells. Many SD90s roamed the NS system sporting their original paint everywhere but the side, which was white with a black background. One by one, units would be sent to Progress Rail to be rebuilt. The first unit, number 7314, was finished in September of 2016. Soon after, it was renumbered to 7339, and it's the last numerical unit of the fleet. They were reclassified to SD70ACU. The SD stood for Special Duty, the 70 was the model number, the AC stood for Alternating Traction Motors, and the U stood for the GE UltraCab 2 cab signaling system. They got new, isolated SD70A style cabs, new cab electronics, a new CCB2 air brake, Mitsubishi inverters, rear ditch lights. They were ballasted up to 432,000 pounds. They were upgraded to Tier 1 Plus diesel emission standards, and units 7229, 7233, 7234, 7260, 7265, and 7269 were upgraded to 4,500 horsepower. All units received raised letter Nathan K5LAs or Nathan P5s and gram white E-bells. They began as SD90 Macs in various paint schemes, and after that rebuild, they looked more like SD70A's due to the cab replacement. Surprisingly, their Siemens traction motors were not replaced. The entire fleet numbers of ACUs ranged from 7229 to 7339, and kept the NS numbers received when NS acquired them, excluding 7339, which was renumbered. In the summer of 2018, Canadian Pacific announced they would be upgrading all 60 of their SD90 Macs to SD70ACUs. These units were sent to Progress Rail to be rebuilt. CP began to put their SD70ACUs in service, and many were painted into Heritage Paint and Veterans units. The NS SD70ACU program has been recently completed as of May of 2019, but in late summer of 2019, some ACUs were modified at Norfolk Southern's Juniata shops in Altoona, Pennsylvania to have HelperLink, a program used on helpers used on the Pittsburgh line. These HelperLink SD70ACUs will be used to supplement the SD40Es that currently run as helper sets. They have a HelperLink box on them, and also the ditch lights are lower on the nose, and that's how NS turned a commercial flop from EMD into another workhorse. Make sure to vote for next episode's engine I should talk about. The options are NS AC44C6M and AC44C6CF, NS SD40E, NS BP4, and MBTA F40PH-2C and F40PHM-2C rebuilds. Thanks for watching. See you in about a month for the next episode of Rebuild. Bye!